This time I'll call the meeting of the Marshall City Council to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. Is Simo Oleski, is she connected? Okay, so we have an agenda before us, the City Council does. Are there any changes to that agenda? If not, we'll operate under that agenda. The first item then would be to consider the approval of the minutes of the meeting that was last held June 10th. The council does have the minutes in their information. Are there any corrections to note?
Move approval.
Motion by Craig, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. Just to approve the minutes as they have been presented, we'll move to a vote. And we'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. We'll move then to the consent agenda. We'll bring the items up on the screen there on the consent agenda, and they include consider approval of the premises permit application for the Ivanhoe Firemen's Relief Association, authorization of acceptance of a hazardous material emergency preparedness grant for the Southwest Hazardous Materials Response Team, and authorize the Director of Public Safety, Jim Marshall, to administer the grant. The contract with the state of Minnesota and the city of Marshall for the hazmat services for Southwest Minnesota. Consider the request for a street closure for Eats and Beats event on 3rd Street. Dates would be June 26th, July 17th, and August 7th. And then finally, consider the approval of the bills and the project payments. Is there any item on the consent agenda any member wants removed for separate discussion?
I'd move approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Amanda, seconded by Amanda to approve all of the items on the consent agenda. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. And we'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. We'll move then to agenda item number 8, consider the approval of the resolution declaring the official intent of the city of Marshall to reimburse certain expenditures from the proceeds of tax-exempt bonds or other obligations being issued by the city. I will call on E.J. Moberg, Director of Administrative Services, to address this agenda item. I'd also note that Mr. David Shelkoff from Marshall Municipal Utilities is also in attendance if there are questions. E.J.?
Thank you. So MMU is looking at issuing some bonds later this year. It's actually going to come back to council for that decision, most likely the second meeting of July. Tonight's is just a resolution to declare intent for the reimbursement, to be able to reimburse itself certain costs related to those projects that are going to be used to be financed with bond issuance. They're looking at a total maximum principal of $15,700,000. This is a pretty standard thing that we do as well when we issue bonds to have reimbursement resolutions passed. As you mentioned, MMU General Manager David Shelkoff is here if there are questions about this project. Otherwise, like I said, we're just here from the transparency aspect of letting the public know that we are going to have the right of MMU to reimburse itself some of the costs that have been spent for these purposes.
Okay. Any questions?
And Mr. Mayor, just it's kind of a point of clarification because this comes up, we've done this in the past, did it with the water project for the extension of the wellhead area near Hanley Falls. As council members, what ends up happening is we're going to take heat at certain times from individuals that are concerned about the city's debt. So this does show up as city debt, even though it's with an enterprise fund. We're investing with Marshall Municipal Utilities in the utility for the electrical service, the quality and the reliability of that, but it does look like debt load on the city. So I'm not saying that to oppose it whatsoever, but just understand that when those numbers start coming out and our debt looks like, you know, my God, you're in these multi-million dollars. Well, yeah, we're investing in a lot of hard structure that other communities don't even have the luxury of owning the electric utility as a city utility. So it's a business investment plus for the city.
Yep. Thank you, Craig. Good point. Any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
Motion by Craig, is there a second?
Second.
Second by John, discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, EJ. We'll move then to agenda item number 9. This is a pre-development agreement for affordable family apartment complex. I will call on Lauren Deitz, Economic Development Director.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we are trying to seek approval for an updated pre-development agreement with Tapestry Companies. Tapestry Companies is proposing a 60-unit apartment complex with 1, 2, 3, and 4-bedroom units aimed at families earning no more than 50% of the area median income. We've seen this project come forward in the past. This will be our third application to Minnesota Housing Finance Agency's low-income housing tax credit program and financing. The previous 2 years, especially last year, our project scored well. Unfortunately, there was a lot of projects in the mix, and we just did not receive funding at that time. So as we look at this year, we did have to make a few changes just based on the type of incentive we had available. And then we decided to actually shift the project to a different site to help with infrastructure cost. So now we are looking to move the site of the project to Legion Field Road. So this is adjacent to the Nexus Apartments. In our comprehensive plan, this site is designated for the high-density family housing. So this we thought was a good fit. With that, we would not have to worry about adding the street extension, which was a high cost, and that's how we had incentivized in the past. But as we know, we did shift our obligated or pooled unobligated TIF around a little bit. So instead, we are getting a little bit more creative with our financing as well for the incentive. So we are looking at using the statewide affordable housing aid allocation, 2 years worth of that, plus $100,000 in Parkway funds, which was held for future housing growth in Parkway 3 and 4, which is where this site is located, and then an additional $100,000 in economic development funds that we received through MMU. So with that, I do have Tim Trimble available with Tapestry to answer any other questions, but I felt as though we were pretty familiar with the project, but would be happy to answer anything that came up.
Questions for Lauren? Can you go over the timeline for the application again?
Yep, so the application is due in July. This is a pretty long process, so typically we don't find out. We find out if we are included in scoring at about the fall, and then by the end of the year, we would know if our project was approved with construction. Once the loan is secured and everything, would be 26, 27.
Okay, thank you. And back to the drawing, if we could put that up, schematic. On the structure, that's outlined in the upper right. What is that?
Those are a tot lot, playgrounds, a dog
Okay.
park, and then a grill area.
Okay.
So just a few additional amenities for our families that would be living in the units.
So this would not have grills on the individual units, or would they be allowed on the individual units?
So I'll ask you to come up and use the microphone. So, thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, where my hearing works. You were asking about grills?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll probably put a grill outside area, but nothing allowed in patios or anything.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, so there will be a grill, so. yeah.
Awesome.
I just want to say thank you to the city marshal. As Lauren mentioned, their third time, knock on wood, we get it this time.
Right.
Last year, our point score was 128. We were the next project and the funding ran out. They've softened the point scoring a little bit this year, so the bar's been raised a little. Right now, our point scoring sits at 138. So we're able to add more to our application this year. And I've said till people are tired of hearing me, but I can't believe that Marshall hasn't had a new affordable project built, and I want to say 40 years if I'm not mistaken. So we're way past due on this one. So we're optimistic this is the year we're finally going to get there.
Very good.
Yeah, any other questions I can answer?
Any other questions?
No.
Okay.
All right, well,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Council have any other general discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion to approve the pre-development agreement. Second.
Motion by Amanda, seconded by Amanda. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 10 is consider appointments to boards and commissions. The council did meet earlier this evening in special session and interviewed applicants for different boards and commissions. And based on the applications and those interviews, I would recommend that Jake Knutson be appointed to a term on the Airport Commission that will expire May 31st, 2028, and that Larry Doom be appointed to a second term on the Planning Commission. Again, that term will expire May 31st, 2028. Offer that as a recommendation to the council and entertain a motion to affirm.
So moved.
Motion by Amanda, seconded by John. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. We'll move then to Commission Board Liaison Reports. Craig?
None of mine have met, but I did fill in for Amanda and on the library board last week. And kind of nice to be back there and visit with the board again. They're obviously working very hard to finalize their budget proposal for this year, coming year. And there was Commissioner Anderson came to fill in for Commissioner Groutman and did tell the board that they can plan certainly not on receiving the 4.5 that they're requesting, and that the actual to be prepared that it may be zero or worse. So thought it was interesting that that comment came through like that. I know we haven't had our discussion with them yet, but and then they also, for positive side, they have the Dancing Spoons this coming Thursday. So people that are interested in going to the library for that program, they're pretty excited about that. So, and that's all I have.
Okay.
Yeah, well, Craig stepped in for me for the library board, and community services advisory board did not meet.
And Amanda?
Planning Commission met last Wednesday, and we had public hearings on ordinance amending for sober houses, some changes for the sign ordinance, and changes to, what was the other one? Trying to read, billboard requirements. They're kind of related. But that'll come up more, I think, in the next council meeting as well. And then EDA met too. We discussed just what we were just talking about, the Tapestry Housing Project, and moving forward with that.
Okay, good. Following up on the library budget discussion, the Joint Library City-County Budget Committee will be meeting July 7th. So that's when both the city and the county will get the first review of the budget proposal. So, John?
So at the EDA, which Amanda already spoke on, and yeah, that's all that meant this time.
We'll move then to council member individual items. John?
Nope.
Craig?
Just one thing, and I hate to keep getting on my soapbox about things, but it seems like that's what I'm turning into, so I'm going to go. People that have the UTV permits, special use permits, and especially to those who don't, if you don't have them, you need to have them if you're going to operate them on the streets in Marshall. But for all of the people who operate the UTVs in town, they're not, the special use vehicle license does not permit or allow you to travel on the state and federal highways. So East College Drive, West College Drive, East Main, West Main, that's not the appropriate travel routes for those. And I'm starting to see an awful lot of that, and it's concerning. And we didn't issue those permits because our law enforcement don't have things to do. And I don't want them having to run traffic. And it's also an abuse of it. And, you know, pretty soon, if I'm guessing State Patrol will have a problem with that at some point in time, and then they're going to talk to Public Safety Director Marshall, and then we've just put something else on his plate. And that's not why we passed that special permit provision. So I just wish people would be respectful. I know that sometimes to get short trip from here to there, you might have to do a block or two to make a connection, but I see an awful lot of them that I'll follow when I get on Main Street at Fifth Street, West Fifth Street, and I can go all the way to the 23 intersection at the bypass, and there's 1-3 ahead of me, and that happens way too frequently now. So people, please be respectful of what that privilege gives you and what it doesn't. And that's it. It's my soapbox for the day.
Amanda?
Yeah, well, I wanted to point out it was a very busy weekend in Marshall. There were 46 teams that came to town. 80 games were played between our 9 fields between fast pitch and baseball. So I think that just speaks to the good partnership that we have with our local youth organizations. And hats off to our Parks Department for putting it all on. And yeah, it was flawless. So, and a very busy weekend at the Aquatic Center.
Awesome.
So that's it.
Good. Amanda?
Got nothing.
The only thing I will mention is last Thursday, the Juneteenth celebration, both on Third Street as well as at Justice Park. Very nice events, well attended. Entertainment was good. It was warm, but it was a successful day. So thanks to the DEI Commission and in particular Jasmine, who had DeSmet, who gave leadership to pulling everything together. So with that, we'll move then to staff reports. Sharon Anderson, or excuse me, Sharon Hanson, City Administrator.
No problem, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate you mentioning Juneteenth. Thought we did a great job and the community came out despite the warm weather. And also Councilmember Schwartz's comments on the activities of the Parks Department and our pool. We were very, very busy. Maybe not everybody sees it all the time. Some of our parks and fields are tucked away. But I appreciate the comments. So that's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Jason?
I have nothing to report tonight unless you've got questions for me.
Okay. City Attorney Pam?
Nothing from me either.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pam,
Oh, I actually do. I forgot Sharon had asked me to remind everybody that the legislature made changes to the open meeting law so that council members can join remotely with less restrictions. So they lifted the restrictions on joining from a public location and posting that location. Our agenda does need to reflect that council members may join remotely, however. And also, if any of you are in Duluth, I will be at the vendor table on Wednesday evening. Come by and say hi.
very good. Thank you, Pam. With that, we'll move then to the remaining items on the agenda, which include the Public Housing Commission minutes, our report on cash and investments, our listing of building permits, and the listing of upcoming meetings. Is there anything further to come forward at this meeting this evening? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Motion by Craig,
I'll second.
seconded by John. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote.
Gotta be quicker.
We'll close the voting. The motion passes. We are adjourned.